broken entertainment. So Godzilla vs. Kong has proved several things. One, a bad movie can do very well, and not just very well initially, but very well long term. Godzilla vs. Kong is not a well put together movie. Most of the human stuff is pretty terrible, or it can be cut out completely. The monster stuff, though, is phenomenal, and I think that's what keeps bringing people back to this movie. But more than that, the mainstream access media does not understand why this movie is doing well. And you'll see an example of that here in this article from Cinema Blend. Then I'll show you some numbers from HBO Max to counter it. So Godzilla vs. Kong continues to dominate the box office as it crosses a global milestone. In the last couple of weeks, it's been made pretty clear that people have sincerely missed going to the movies. That's not true. I'll get to why in a little bit, but let's go ahead. For the last year, people have primarily had to feed their film cravings with home video, digital releases, and streaming services, but after an incredibly long year, cinemas are finally making a big comeback. They've had one good release, and it seems that there are a lot of folks interested in celebrating the occasion. Adam Wingard's Godzilla vs. Kong has been the primary recipient of this love, as its opening weekend numbers set records for mid-pandemic release, and has continued to succeed in its second Friday to Sunday as well. Its domestic haul helping to boost its global total to an exciting milestone. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Godzilla vs. Kong added an additional $13.4 million to its box office sales this past weekend, meaning that to date it has made $69.5 million here at home. This means it is now officially the highest grossing domestic release since the start of the pandemic in March 2020. The distinction previously belonged to Christopher Nolan's Tenet, which to date has made $57.9 million from ticket sales in North America, having opened last fall and has returned to IMAX theaters since. It's now playing at over 3,000 locations nationwide, including both Los Angeles and New York, through COVID-19 protocols and limited total capacity rules are still in place. So let's take a second here. They're breathless about all this. Oh, look how well this movie's doing. It means that theaters are really sorely missed. Well, no. We have a lot of numbers that contradict that, and we'll get to those, but the big thing here to take away is they keep bringing up, oh, it's the best pandemic movie. It's the best one. It's got the most money. It's doing the best. Well, what's its competition? I mean, yeah, it's doing very well, and I don't want to detract from that. And there's reasons for that we'll get into here a little bit later in the video, but it's doing very well. But its competition is a Christopher Nolan movie a lot of people didn't like, and what? Tom and Jerry? Raya and the Last Dragon? It's not a high bar to clear. Those numbers are actually pretty small when you look at the Godzilla vs. Kong is doing abroad. The film got a head start internationally, released about a week early in foreign markets, and has been a huge success. Combined with $69.5 million from North America, the blockbuster has thus far earned $357.8 million. This means this is now actually on pace to easily outgross Mike Doughty's Godzilla King of the Monsters, which made $386.6 million worldwide when it played on the big screen in 2019, when there wasn't a pandemic. Well, yes. And again, this is going to play into the narrative they're trying to avoid, and it's very, very simple. Godzilla vs. Kong is a movie about a monkey punching a lizard. There's no woke crap, there's no agenda, there's no politics, it doesn't lecture you, nobody's running around wearing masks, they don't say the word COVID, they don't say the word pandemic. It's just a monster movie. And when you look at its competition, okay, Tenet was a complicated, weird movie by Christopher Nolan. Raya and the Last Dragon is a Disney movie that spends most of its time being terribly written, and a lot of its time lecturing people and pushing an agenda. Tom and Jerry's Tom and Jerry. Okay? Before that, we had a whole bunch of movies. Terminator Dark Fate. Okay? Star Wars movies, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. You had the Charlie's Angels reboot. You had these movies come out, and they all flopped horribly. You can go back to 2016 if you want with the all-female Ghostbusters movie. And it wasn't that people didn't want to go to the theaters then, although theater attendance has been in decline for years. It's that people wanted movies that weren't hitting them over the head with a cudgel. Live your life like this. You must believe this. You must behave in this way. Men bad, women good. That's what people wanted, but they were given that stuff constantly. Birds of Prey. Right? Another example. Supergirl on the CW. Another example. So, after all this, and the problems with Gina Carano with The Mandalorian and everything else that has been happening, Godzilla vs. Kong puts out a trailer and everybody gets hyped. And at first I was like, I don't get it. It's Godzilla vs. Kong. Who cares? Nobody cared. No one was all that interested in Godzilla King of the Monsters. And no one was all that interested in Godzilla 2014. Godzilla doesn't have a giant fan base in the US. It has a fan base, but it's not, freaking huge. And I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, why is everybody so hyped? The trailer, to me, wasn't even that impressive. And then it came out with another trailer, and people got more hyped. And then I watched the movie, and I'm like, oh, that's why. Because it doesn't insult you. It doesn't tell you this movie's not for you. It doesn't tell you men are bad. Well, there's but it doesn't go into all this crap they've been spoon feeding people, and everybody has just kind of had enough. And they finally saw a trailer and then another trailer, and they're like, this movie's just gonna be a lizard and a monkey punching each other. It's not high art, but it's gonna be entertaining. And they went and they watched it, and you know what? It is. It's entertaining. Is it well put together? No. Are the human stories interesting? No. Are the human characters memorable? No, not at all. And none of that matters, because the monsters are fantastic. The humanity in Kong is fantastic. The fights are fantastic. The CGI is great. People just got to go watch a movie and just watch a damn movie. But let's go more into this. That in mind, a very important thing to keep in mind while looking at Godzilla vs. Kong numbers is context. As I noted in my box office piece last week, the MonsterVerse has hardly proven to be a huge win for Warner Brothers. Legendary Pictures since its inception in 2014 with the release of Gareth Edwards' Godzilla, movies including Jordan Vogt Roberts' Kong Skull Island, in addition to the aforementioned King of the Monsters, did decently when they were respectively released, but they hardly demonstrated that the world was begging for more. Godzilla vs. Kong is getting a massive response, but a considerable fraction of its audience most certainly has to consist of people who are just desperate to watch a massive blockbuster on the big screen again after a long time away from the experience. This is where they're wrong. This is where the media doesn't get it. And let me show you why. Godzilla vs. Kong brings subscriber surge to HBO Max. Godzilla vs. Kong has been in theaters for more than a week in the United States, so that means HBO Max has been catering to fans with its own screening of the film. Thanks to the new hybrid release schedule, the MonsterVerse movie is more accessible than ever. Subscribers have been flocking to HBO Max in order to watch Godzilla vs. Kong, and a new report suggests the blockbuster has brought a surge of new users to the service. According to a new piece by Variety, the analytics service TV Vision, that's T-Vision, wow, has been keeping a pulse on HBO Max user base since Godzilla vs. Kong went live. Reports suggest the site has enjoyed one of its strongest weeks in terms of new users since its launch in May. As it stands, Wonder Woman 1984 ranks just above Godzilla vs. Kong when it comes to seducing new users, but the MonsterVerse movie came close. The movie brought in the third best week for HBO Max, following the superhero sequel and the site's overall launch. Of course, Warner Brothers is happy with this number and has said Godzilla vs. Kong has been a historic gain for HBO Max. In a recent statement, the studio said the movie enjoyed a larger viewing audience than any other film or show on HBO Max since launch. It's not because people want to watch it, want to flock desperately back to theaters. It's because it's entertaining. And yes, some people are saying, you know what, I want to go see the monster fight on a big screen. But that doesn't account for all of it. And if you look again at the numbers, its domestic release has done well, but not that well. Okay, they're touting it as being amazing because it's pandemic era. 69.5 million is good, but is that what you would have expected, really, out of a movie that was this hyped? There's a ton of people watching it on HBO Max for free. If the movie was just about going back to the theaters, you wouldn't have those numbers on HBO Max. Plain and simple. This is about a movie that isn't full of itself and isn't full of crap. That's just entertaining to watch. And it's the first one we've really had in a long time. Like, when's the last movie you can think of that didn't have any of this crap in it? I mean, really think. Because for me, you have to go back at least a year. At minimum. Finally, you get Godzilla vs. Kong, and there's no hint of this shit in the trailers. And then you watch the movie, and it's not in there. And you know what? I didn't like most of the movie. I kind of want to go watch it again. Because it doesn't have this crap in it. I can just break off from reality, enjoy the movie, watch a monkey and a lizard punch each other. I don't even like King Kong. But he was so well done in that movie. And Godzilla, of course, is my big love in monster movies. I get to see him on the screen be awesome. And the monster fight has done justice. It's not about theaters. It's just not. People were paying exorbitant prices to go see movies in theaters. They've been complaining about it for years. And the theaters aren't making a lot of money. Look, AMC was on the verge of bankruptcy before the pandemic started. People just want to be entertained. And they finally got a movie that did it, and they're rewarding it. And you saw some of that with Snyder Cut. And you saw some of that, frankly, with Wonder Woman 1984, which is a really terrible movie. But a lot of people watched it. And they watched it on streaming. Because it looked like, and its numbers fell off because when you watch it you find out it's not, but it looked like it was just going to be entertaining. But the media can't handle that. It's got to be, oh, people want to go back and see movies in theaters, and that's the only possible reason. Because if they accept the narrative that people like this movie because there's no politics in it and no agenda, and it doesn't push crap in your face, then they have to accept that what they're doing is wrong. And they can't do that. They have to make excuses, which is what this is. Only reason anybody likes this movie is because they want to go back to theaters. Well, HBO Max disagrees with you. Straight up. This movie did well because it's just a monkey and a lizard beating each other up in Hong Kong. And on an aircraft carrier. Which is the silliest scene. I mean, those two standing on an aircraft carrier would sink it right to the bottom. But it's fun to watch. And there's no cynicism in this movie. None. But if you accept that in the media, then you have to accept that the agenda-driven crap is pushing people away, and they can't do it. They can't. They're dedicated. It's a religion. So, if you want to be entertained, go watch Godzilla vs. Kong. Do it for what? Do it in the theater, do it at home, who cares? This isn't about theaters. Theaters are going the way of a lot of older forms of entertainment. They're just going to pass us by, and they're going to go quietly into the night, and they're going to be this thing that we talk about that's kind of a relic, and there's some neat places you can go watch movies occasionally, but it's not going to be this dominant force anymore. And they can't accept that the genie has been released, okay? HBO Max is pulling back in the next year, but it doesn't matter. You already did it. They're already still going to be sharing that streaming time. And, how hard is it to just wait a week and then watch it on a streaming service? So, let me know what you think of their conclusion. Let me know if you liked the video. Hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you next time.